Hi guys, with the mainstream parties like Labour and the Conservatives basically on holiday, Nigel Farage is taking advantage of the situation and doing a pretty good job of it. Now he's holding another of his conferences on justice, and this time instead of calling for calm when it came to the rioting and intimidation around ex-hotels housing asylum seekers, he's engaging in scaremongering once again. Have a listen.
The mood in the country around this issue is a mix between total despair and rising anger. And I would say this, that without action, without somehow the contract between the government and the people being renewed, without some trust coming back, then I fear deeply that anger will grow. In fact, I think there is now, as a result of this, a genuine threat to public order. And that is the very last thing that we want.
Is it really? Is it really the last thing that Nigel Farage wants? A breakdown in public order. See, what he does is he suggests these things are going to get really bad. Then they get really bad, and then he turns around and says, I told you so. Because he's part of the problem. He wants to see violence on the streets. He wants to see these asylum hotels being attacked. He wants to see chaos because he benefits from that. His party will benefit from chaos because it shows that the government are not in control, and people will, of course, during times of high tension, reach to the extremes. They will want a strong man in charge. And who is the strong man in British politics at the moment? Well, of course, it's Nigel Farage. He's the one who will come in and sort things out. He's the one talking tough, tougher than everyone else. And unfortunately, what we're going to see from the Labour government, and we've seen it before with the Conservatives, and we've seen it recently with Labour as well, they're trying to pander to him. They say, oh, Nigel Farage is talking about immigration, then we need to talk about immigration too. Nigel Farage is talking tough, then we need to talk tougher. And you will not succeed because he's the heckler at the comedy club. He's the one sitting on the sidelines. All he has to do is say, I will do it better. He will not be held to account because he's not in power. He hasn't been tested. Unfortunately, the only way to prove him wrong is to test him, to put him in power. But then it's too late. So Farage is talking about 5 flights a day. When it comes to deportations, he's talking about doing deals with the Taliban, potentially. He's talking about doing deals with Iran, potentially. He's talking about building infrastructure thousands of miles away to house asylum seekers. And all of this is going to cost about £10 billion over 5 years. Absolute nonsense. But he's okay. He's fine. He's in a perfect position because he doesn't actually have to be held to account for it. The government of the day have to be able to fix this. Now, they may eventually be able to close these hotels. They may eventually be able to process sufficient levels of claims. They may eventually be able to reduce some of the boat crossings. But in the meanwhile, all Farage has to do is sit on the sidelines and say, I would do it better. And once again, he benefits from rising tensions. He's not going to call for calm because it would undermine his position. All he has to say is trust has broken down between citizens and the government. And he's the only one who can rebuild that trust. If you keep saying it, people will eventually believe it, whether it's true or not. And trust has broken down. But thanks to people like Nigel Farage, thanks to people like Boris Johnson, who are lying charlatans when they were in charge, in the case of Boris Johnson. And when it came to Brexit and after Brexit, this guy convinced people to vote against their own interests. And then when the responsibility fell on him, he said it was not my fault, it was somebody else's fault, blaming somebody else. Always somebody else's responsibility, never mine. This undermines trust in politics. This undermines trust in government. And the right-wing media constantly talking about how people should not trust the government. The right-wing politicians constantly talking about you can't trust the government, you can't trust politicians, you can't trust the civil service, you can't trust the media, you can't trust this, you can't trust that. So they benefit from a breakdown in trust between citizens and institutions. and present themselves as the solution to that. It's ironic that he's talking about trust. We need to rebuild trust. How do you do that? Well, do the things that I want you to do. So it's either a case of Nigel Farage wants to influence the government and then see it collapse and then say, see, they didn't do as I was telling them to do. Or he just wants to see chaos and then take advantage of that to see himself in power. When it came to the Conservatives, he was more about influence. This time round, it may be about real power. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. And I'll see you in the next video.